Today we read a story about a sinful woman. And I hope that you would ask the question, why are they singling out that particular woman in the story as being sinful? Because aren't we all sinful? Aren't we all sinful? So why the fuss over this lady? I hope you would ask that question. We are all sinful. We are all sinful. We all know that. Everybody sins. Everybody falls short. This week I called a friend and asked him for forgiveness because I had neglected to talk to him for several years. Not because I didn't love my friend, not because I wasn't glad to have this wonderful mentor in my life. Not because I wasn't interested in him, but because I felt bad about talking to him about my problems, because he had just lost his wife and I didn't want to dump my problems on my friend. And so I avoided him. And that was sinful. And so this week I called him up and I apologized because I had hurt him, but probably I had really hurt myself more because I needed my friend. But this lady has done something that hurt the broader community. And that's the difference. Sin that hurts a person is one thing. We all do that. But sin that hurts a whole community is quite another. Think about the news stories that you see, people hurting their children or other people's children, people dressing up like clowns and scaring everybody, people stealing from the elderly or neglecting them, people selling drugs, people who create terror. These are things that we do not want to participate in, things that we want to avoid. And the Bible never tells us what this woman did. But over the course of centuries, the church painted her as a prostitute. And it's possible that she was a prostitute, but what is important is that whatever sin she was committing brought down the whole community. That's the ancient understanding of what a sinner is, as somebody that hurts the entire community. She knew that she had fundamentally wronged the community and that she had fundamentally wronged God. And the community knew that she had wronged them. And often in situations like this, people would shun the sinner and refuse to do business with them, which then would have an economic impact. We feel like we know all about this woman. This woman that we have painted as a prostitute, but we really don't know anything about her at all. We don't know the name of her sin, and we don't even know her name. But the writer of the Gospel of Luke sees her. Jesus sees her. Jesus talks to her, and Jesus forgives her and inspires her to build a good life. And you know, I used to be upset that I didn't know her name. I used to be really frustrated that I did not know the names of these women that are in a lot of these stories. They're important to the story, but they're unnamed, anonymous. It used to really frustrate me. But over the course of my life, I realized that sometimes I feel unnamed. I remember being a student and being just another kid in the hallway, another kid in the cafeteria, another kid in the lunch line, another kid at recess. Sometimes I could go through the whole day without anybody saying my name. Sometimes we are just another stranger, another customer, another driver, another neighbor. But in all of this anonymity, there is at least one person who knows each of us, who knows our name and calls us by name. Jesus. And this unnamed woman knows that Jesus knows her. She understands Jesus' mission is to be a friend to sinners. She knows that she has sinned greatly. She knows that she has been forgiven much. And she knows that she is amazingly loved. And so she does this act of remarkable generosity, of extravagant hospitality, because she knows that she is known, and she loves that she is loved, and she treasures that she is treasured. She carries with her an alabaster jar. And that alabaster jar in itself is valuable. But the jar is filled with a costly ointment. She kneels before Jesus and she bathes his feet with her tears. And these cannot be tears of grief or regret or shame or hurt. These tears must be the tears that we cry when we see a Hallmark commercial. The tears that we cry when we are reunited with a loved one. The tears that we cry when somebody does something unexpectedly wonderful for us. The tears that we cry when we or a loved one accomplishes something that has been a long time coming with a lot of hurdles. These are tears of joy that this woman bathes Jesus' feet with. And she does this to demonstrate her love for Jesus. This week, when I talked to my friend and apologized to him for neglecting him, he told me that he forgave me, that he's proud of me, that he's happy for me, and that he loves me. I mean, he's a minister, so he kind of had to accept the apology. But he didn't have to tell me that he was proud of me. We got that kind of relationship where he could tell me what he was thinking. And right now, I'm crying the same tear of joy as I was when I talked to him. And I knew, even though we were talking on the phone, that he knew that I was crying tears of joy. And this feeling that I have right now is the same feeling that the woman had, an overwhelming pouring out of joyful tears, tears of relief. How can we respond extravagantly to the forgiveness, the redemption that we have received? In what ways can we honor Jesus with our tears? In what ways can we express our love for Jesus in such an intimate way? How can we anoint Jesus? Give me a moment. Sorry. Often when we give, when we make a commitment to God, we don't have an alabaster jar and we don't have a costly ointment. Often when we give, instead of spilling tears of joy and breaking open a treasure, sometimes all we bring is a little water and a little oil. Sometimes we don't even bring water and oil. Sometimes we don't even bother to respond at all. And what would it look like if we gave in the way that this woman did? As I get older, I find that a line from an old gospel song resonates with me. You can't beat God's giving, no matter how hard you try. And when I first started attending church as a young adult, I have to admit that I was a pretty stingy giver. But now as I get older, I find that when I give, my joy increases. Sometimes it is hard to do the giving. Over the past couple of years, I've had some months and even years when my household income was not what I thought it would be. And it really made me happy to be able to talk to the financial secretary and say, I want to keep my pledge the same. It's really important to me. And somehow, I have always been able to keep my pledge. There is always enough. Sometimes I've needed to make some frustrating choices. A couple of times I had to borrow some money from my parents. But there's always enough. And that brings me joy. Even though I know I am not at the level of giving that the woman we read about is. The other thing that I've learned about myself as I continue to push myself on this journey is I am much more interested in good stewardship when I give a lot. When I was a kid, my church had a capital campaign to build a gym and a children's wing. And I remember my parents asked me what I would like to contribute. And they asked me if I would be willing to sponsor a brick. That was $10. And I did. Of course, there were many other much more expensive things that needed to be purchased. And the grown-ups that had a lot of money put in their dibs to pay for some of the bigger things. And a few years later, the church began a contemporary service in the gym. And there was a member who had paid for the sound and lighting system for the stage. And the curtains and the projector. They pretty much had paid for the whole front of this area. And that person couldn't stand contemporary music. Well, this was a Baptist church. And so I need to tell you that this person said that contemporary music was the devil's music. And they threw a big fit about their stage being used in a manner that they felt was inappropriate. After all, it was their money that paid for it. And they actually managed to shut down the contemporary service for quite some time. And that, my friends, is very bad stewardship. The woman with the jar of ointment didn't give the gift to Jesus expecting Jesus to do what she wanted him to do. She gave it to Jesus because she loved Jesus. And likewise, I have also become very concerned about being a good steward of what has been given to us. I do not want us to waste what has been given to us. And I also don't want the gifts that have been given to us turn out to be like the gift soaps that we would give to my grandmother every Mother's Day. Sweet-smelling, rose-shaped, pink gift soaps. When we cleaned up the house after she passed away, we found a small hoard of pink rose gift soaps that were dried up and scentless and faded and useless. She felt that they were too good to use every day. And so she wasted them. But we had meant for her to use them and enjoy them and to be pampered. We need to be good stewards of what has been given to us. Because if we put it away for too long, it'll be gone. Good stewardship is intended to put resources into the service of God's purpose. Stewardship is not just about how much money we give. Stewardship is not just about what we do with money, Stewardship has to do with what we do with our lives.